We're here today on June 7th for a hearing for medical cannabis in the state of North Carolina. We have veterans coming in, people from different places, doctors, patients, and we're hoping to show our legislators that this is a compassionate issue that needs to be addressed and addressed immediately. They don't need to be playing politics with people's lives and with the suffering of citizens and especially our soldiers.
You know, I grew up in Massachusetts.
You know, I don't care whether you are a Democrat or a Republican. This is not a partisan issue. It's a bipartisan issue. It's a human rights issue. It's a compassionate treatment issue. It is something that all of us, regardless of our political party registration, can embrace, work together on, and change the policy, not only in North Carolina. It's important that we do it in North Carolina. But if we work together, we can change the policy in this country. Because it needs to be part of the overall discussion moving forward.
Bill, whether it's the chronic disease, whether it's the older age citizens, we have many retired citizens in Buncombe County who are begging for this to be law so that they can legally have the pain relief that they need. I had constituents write me from the first day about this particular issue. It's one that I feel personally passionate about because my husband died of cancer and I watched what chemotherapy did to him. I watched him waste away. I wish that he had had something that he could have used. They even, when he was in hospice, they did allow him medical marijuana, but it was in a pill form that he couldn't take. So it just seems to me that we have a tool out there to help alleviate pain, and for us not to use this tool for our citizens is immoral.
It's true that a majority of citizens of the state of North Carolina want to see medicinal marijuana legalized. Medicinal cannabis is very healthy for the patient as compared to the narcotics, which are killing us. There are so many people who are in intense pain that have to continue to increase the dose of narcotics as they begin to wear off and increase them until the narcotics themselves kill them. Now, do not make any mistakes. It's not the people, the voters, that the representatives up here are afraid of when it comes to taking a critical vote on issues like this. It is the lobbyists. There are drug companies with a great deal of money invested in making sure that people get on narcotics and stay on narcotics until they are no longer with us. Different medicines, such as medicinal cannabis, can give people the analgesic pain effects that will stop them from suffering without leading to the horrible addiction and overdoses that end up killing them. And on a more important note, this boils down to a question of, do we or do we not own our own bodies? Why do we have to answer to the state or any government when it comes to deciding our medical care? You know,
I appreciate you taking the time and spending your money to come here. We're a small group. But I would tell you, as Martin Luther King said, you have recognized an injustice in this country. And as a person, as a human being, anyone who recognizes an injustice and does not do all they can to eliminate it, they have failed as Americans.
Let's have the Institute of Medicine look at it. So they did their study. They did 18 months of study and review, and they came up with this book in 1999, the Marijuana as Medicine, Assessing the Science Base. And basically they said, it is safe for medical use, it is not highly addictive, it is not a gateway drug. Any patient with cancer or AIDS should be able to use it right now, even if it means smoking. Let me see what happens if you use cannabis. Every physician should be able to do that because it is so safe. That's why.
The pain relief and the relief from the muscle spasms would continue for the next 36 to 48 hours. And it was really at that point that I realized, you know, this is an important issue, and I started looking more into why it works like that, and well, why isn't this legal? Why can't I take this, but I can take these extremely powerful and addictive narcotics, which I was actually able to stop taking thanks to the use of cannabis. You know, basically as I got older and, you know, married and house, job, and some kids on the way, I'm taking on more responsibilities, and I still have a, you know, great respect for the rule of law and our system of government, and as such, I'm just presently abstaining from using cannabis, but as a result, my quality of life is suffering. So that's really what brought me out here. I mean, normally I wouldn't be involved in something like this, but it's really a shame that states even have to do this. You know, the federal government just says take all these different pills, and they all have these terrible consequences, but it's really just due to politics. This stuff isn't legal. If I could only pick it up at a pharmacy like everything else, my quality of life would be much better.
I just had 4 officers that worked for me in Vietnam come to my house in Virginia 3 weeks ago. I haven't seen these guys in 40 years. All of them used cannabis. All of them were in combat with me. One of them said, if it wasn't for this, I couldn't have survived. He drives a Lexus now. He has a boat, 3 beautiful children, but without cannabis, he can't survive. These are not people that are not functional. One of our board members, you probably heard the name, is Irv Rosenfeld. He's an old friend of mine. He's been smoking medical cannabis given to the federal government for like a quarter century. He's my stockbroker. Okay? And he's a damn good stockbroker. He's not spaced out. None of these conditions, by the way, where veterans use therapeutic cannabis on a regular basis, gets them inebriated or psychoactively unable to cope. Just the opposite. But there shouldn't be any conditions listed for using cannabis. Who are you going to lead up? Who wants to get left out here? Anybody? Nobody, right? So you've got this endocannabinoid system. Marilyn explained it to you. It's everywhere in your body. It's in your brain, your lungs, your skeleton. So it affects everything in our body, everything we do, every disease or illness or something we run into. Cannabis is in there somehow.
The report said that, and this is pretty much a quote, the legalization of medical marijuana is expected to generate an annual net benefit to the state of $39.1 million. Now, I've been looking through the other fiscal notes that have been coming out with other bills this session, and there's been no other bill that has come close to this kind of revenue projection, okay? There's been all this talk among the legislators about creating jobs, and nobody is doing anything close to this. The only thing they're doing is gutting education and our environmental programs and other things that libraries and schools and things that we've come to rely on as essential public services are now being cut, and they're leaving this $39 million on the table. How much revenue will that generate? Quick and dirty. I also went down to $200 for an ounce. I'm thinking that the economies of scale will drive that price down. All right, with my conservative estimates. So I mean, we're talking half the black market price, half what the federal government sends by our number of patients. It's over $1 billion. This is a brand new industry that I'm talking about. That is a $1 billion industry minimum. And we're talking, I mean, that's if I'm using halves and halves. I mean, you could see how it could be $4 billion if it was per year. Per year. This is annual, right here.
Cannabis and its derivatives have shown a promise in the treatment of a variety of disorders. The evidence is most impressive in glaucoma, where their mechanism of action appears to be different from the standard drugs. In asthma, where they approach isoproterenol in effectiveness. And in the nausea and vomiting of cancer chemotherapy, where they compare favorably with phenothiazines. Smaller trials have suggested cannabis might also be useful in seizures, spasticity, and other nervous system disorders. Okay? So that's a quote from the Institute of Medicine, which is a branch of the National Academy.
I began this journey when I was diagnosed in 2008 by smoking marijuana. My father talked me into smoking some marijuana, and within 5 weeks I was no longer taking OxyContin, which was what was prescribed to me for pain. So just from smoking cannabis, I alone stopped the use of a dangerous narcotic that had me lethargic. I lived in a fog. I would wake up drooling on my pillow. I could not function as a mother. I definitely could not drive.
Well, here's what the National Academy says. Quote, there is no permanent deleterious effect on the normal cardiovascular system from smoking marijuana, even among heavy users. Okay? Now that's the National Academy, and that's in agreement with everything else that I've read. Point number one. Point number two, does it cause cancer? Well, the answer is there has never been a case of cancer that is identified with marijuana having been a cause. Okay?
I was actually part of the DARE program when I was younger. I didn't really use it recreationally at all. The first time I actually tried cannabis was after my husband was pulling my hair back when I was puking in the toilet, begging me to just please try it. And it's crazy because you cry. It's like finding out Santa Claus isn't real as an adult. Your entire realization of the world has just changed because you've been lied to your whole life.
Of course, when we first found out he was on marijuana, we reacted to it like you normally would, and got him into counseling and drug rehab therapy, and took him to a rehab specialist at Duke, an addiction specialist. And he said, you know, marijuana is really not that addictive, if at all. It doesn't really change the brain. It's not a gateway drug. So, but it is illegal. So that was a problem.
Otherwise. So, you know, all I've got to say is you've got to realize that no one else has your best interests at heart other than yourself. Doctors are making money, the politicians are making money, and I don't know about you guys, but everyone in this country is running thin, and it's time to stop it. So get out there and educate others, pay it forward, let everyone know, because it's possible.
There are people on both sides of the aisle who just do not get this, but the people at large get this, and if the rest of our House representatives don't start waking up to reality, they're going to find themselves out of a job thanks to you.
You are really inspiring. I mean, it almost makes me cry to see you here, to do what you're doing, to put the kind of pressure that you're putting on the politicians. That's the only way there's going to be improvement here. So thank you very much for that. I'm honored to be here with you. And I'm honored to have met Kelly Alexander, who's putting forth this bill with some other
Ladies and gentlemen, I have been individually talking to a number of you, and I just want to say this so everybody will hear it. You will be wasting your time if while you're here you don't go and find your representatives and at least express to them what your position is on medical cannabis. Tell them, you know, to sign the discharge petition that we're going to be talking about later on today. You know, tell them that you support legalization, and tell them that you want them to support legalization. Tell them that you're going to organize your friends, your neighbors, you know, your spouse, everybody that you can think of, and make sure that it becomes an issue that is discussed in the upcoming political campaigns. Because if you don't, nobody else will, and nothing is ever going to change. That's the point.